Hello and welcome to the show. Today we have a special guest. He's from Canada. Chidi is his name. He does a lot of, he just finished writing a book, Coming to Canada. Chidi, why don't you tell us who you are, where you're from, and guess what you do?
Thank you for having me. My name is Chidi Wichuku. I live in Edmonton with my family. I originally was from Nigeria. I've been in Canada since 2017. I work as a team lead, team manager with Care Services. Professionally, I'm a disability practitioner. I work with people who have intellectual disability and developmental delays. I wrote the book, Coming to Canada, The Ultimate Success Guide for New Immigrants and Travelers. The book draws from broadly three experiences I've had. Number one is my personal experience, which is the fact that I came into Canada with the family and we couldn't find any comprehensive resource that could speak to us as newcomers along the way as we tried to navigate the settlement maze. Number two was also the experience of other people who had gone through this journey that I shared, that I got to know along the way. And thirdly, and perhaps more importantly, is the work I did in the community as Director of Humanitarian Services for my cultural association. In that role, I helped newcomers settle and thrive. I also had volunteered with the Edmonton Food Bank, City of Edmonton, Government of Alberta, the church, etc., etc. So all of those experiences, I put them into the book so that those who are coming behind, and it doesn't matter which culture you're coming from, not just my culture, but globally, it's written from a very global perspective with national references. So it's relevant to all the provinces of and territories of Canada. Those who are coming behind will have that resource that can speak to them like a friend as they begin to navigate through the whole process.
Yeah, nice. I know I was telling you off camera, I just finished college, just finished getting my diploma, and my teacher does immigration. And that is somebody that I think you guys should connect because he helps, bring people into the country, and he immigrated from Venezuela himself. So I think you guys would have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward actually to connect with him because one thing I'm trying to do is to build up that social network, that social capital across the various communities. Mine have been a lifetime of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've lived it, I've managed it, I have been a part of it, it's been part of me. Coming from a country that have over 250 tribes, and managing teams where there are at any given moment out of that 250 probably have 10 to 15 different tribes represented. So it's always nice for me to reach across the cultures and find very, very useful things, partner with them and embrace them and build up relationships all over the place.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know we got the customer experience show here. So I just want to we were talking off camera about your values, and I really wanted to hear you talk about your values, why they're important, and how it's important for like business and family. And yeah.
So the way I look at values are these are the things that will drive you whenever that it fails, so these are the things that are deeply yours. They might be different, and they're different from person to person. The example we're talking about off camera is about a football team that obviously does play very good football. Obviously, football means soccer. For those who understand.
Yeah.
Soccer. Yeah, plays soccer, but rarely wins anything, significant at the end of the year. And for me as a business person, and for me as an individual, I'm goal-oriented, I'm target-oriented. I want to achieve things. Okay, I want to look, review the last 2, 3, 4 years, and I feel that these are the things I've set out for myself, and these are the things that I've done. So one in terms of the values is to know First, and I've articulated it in this way, is to be first. Okay, my value is to be first, which is family-oriented, integrity, resilience, selflessness, and trust. Okay, those are the values that drive me. Those are the values that bring forth in everything I do. But crowning it all is that I want to be successful, and I want to know what, at any given moment, I'm asking myself, what are the key performance indicators for this role or for this thing I'm doing, right? So what are the key performance indicators for me? How will I know that I'm successful as a manager? How will I know that I'm successful as a salesperson? How will I know that I'm successful as a family person? How will I know that I'm successful as a parent? Those are the things that I want to break down, because I realize that if I know what the key performance indicators are, then it's easier for me to work towards them, to have a checklist more or less, and then to knock them off. Okay. But if I don't know what the goal is, if the goal is just to go dribble the ball all over the place and not score, then I won't be able to account for what I have done with my time and with my energy for a given period of time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, values are very important. What a lot of people don't realize, like, so I'm part of like a networking group, and you know, a lot of times they'll say that really good professional, you know, soccer teams, football teams, hockey teams, you know, a lot of times some of these teams, like, you want to think about, I think you and I can relate, Leicester City, right? And how they just magically destroyed every single other team in the Premier League, and nobody's seen it coming. And they literally had a whole bunch of no-namers on the team. No one knew who these guys were. I mean, I think they knew who the goalie was. I think it's still Kasper Schmeichel or whatever, right? Because his dad was famous. But other than that, I mean, no one knew who he was. And it was all about building that culture and building those values and making sure to talk about them every single day and have all the players buy in. And if you do have them all buy in, you can be hugely successful. I know some people will talk about it. It's like a big debate that goes on in the soccer world. And I know this isn't a sports show, but you know, you and I were talking off camera about soccer, so I know we can both relate to this. But I know there's a lot of people who will say that they feel like Lionel Messi, when he's done, because he's never won a World Cup, didn't amount to the same as all these other people. And it's like, but the guy's won like how many Champions Leagues, how many league titles, broke how many like records, right? He won I think he won the Copa America recently, right? Like, so just because he didn't win the World Cup, he's now, you know, rendered like not a legacy. Like the guy's amazing, right?
Yeah, and that's a fair point to make, you know, and I like the way you started by saying the values, talking about them, talking about, you know, making sure that the team understands the vision where we're heading to. And one story that I hear that really speaks to me about that was the story of this some guys who work with the National Space Agency of America, you know, NASA. And these guys are like janitors, right, who work in NASA. And then they ask them, what is your role here in NASA? And the janitor says that I am part of the team that is putting people, that sending men to the moon. But just think about it for a moment. I am part of that team that is sending humans to the moon, right? So it's about having the ultimate goal, stating it very clearly. This is where we're heading to, guys. This is the vision, and we'll get in, and everybody gets into that vision, buys into it, and is drives everybody in every aspect of the function that they do. Now, whether there'll be shortfalls along the way, obviously you can bet. I mean, there have been accidents on the journey to the moon and back and all that. But the important thing is that everybody in that team and in any team whatsoever understands ultimately where we're heading to and what their own individual role relates to that. Now, sometimes the ultimate thing might not be achieved, for example, in the case of Messi, but you can see that he's already a legend. There's absolutely no statistics that you use today to judge that Messi is not a legend. So that he missed out in the World Cup, that doesn't mean he's not a legend in his own right. You know, Zinedine Zidane, for example, missed out in the World Cup, but today he's one of the best coaches anybody can talk about. You know, Roberto Baggio won the World Cup, won so many titles as a player. But, and so we respect him for that. The thing is, depending on the circumstance you find yourself, to be that person who understands what is required, what is needed to be done, and to do it and to move on.
Yeah, I think about I just think like thinking really big about the values. A lot of times you see these professional sports teams where this real expensive high performing player gets booted out of the team and you're going, what are you doing? Why are they getting rid of this guy? And everybody goes nuts. The fans goes nuts. They're like, burning jerseys in the streets. People just go nuts, right? Because they're so confused. But really what's going on is a lot of times those players' egos are so big. They're bigger than the clubs, and they feel that they should have full control over where it goes. And, I can show up 20 minutes late and I should still be a starter, right? And the coach has to put his foot down because he's built this values, this vision, this mission. And you have to keep everybody on par for the team, because if you don't, everything crumbles, right? And I know even that as a manager running a store, I would have, let's call it 10, 15 employees working for me. And one guy would always show up late. And then what would happen is other people would go, well, if he can show up late, I'll show up late. Now, all of a sudden, you have all this negativity going on. Other people are starting to get mad. And now your values literally mean nothing because this one person, instead of just sending them home and telling them you can come back to work when you can learn to show up on time and setting that premise, values are such a very big thing. And a lot of people don't understand. I mean, you look at, let's talk about Tom Brady. If you know who Tom Brady is, like that guy's won how many Super Bowls now? You don't get there to that state. You don't go from one team to another team and win a Super Bowl. It's not a one person game. It's a team, right? So if you want to add something to that.
Fair point. You can't be bigger than the team. I don't care how big you are. You can't be bigger than your team. Okay. Even if you've achieved everything, you still have to be hungry as the person. You still need to be hungry, and that's why people like me respect Ronaldo. With all that he has achieved, he is still hungry. He still wants to achieve more. He still wants to go for more, and he hasn't forgotten the basics. See, success in everything that we do starts with the fundamentals. Once you leave the fundamentals, you are going to have a lot of problems. So the fundamentals is that you show up for practice, you practice as hard as you would have done on the play day, you help out with the team, you help out with your teammates, you listen to the coach's instruction, etc., etc. Those are the fundamentals. Those are the things that kids learn everywhere they play. We don't take these kids to go play basketball knowing that tomorrow they're going to be superstars. No, not necessarily superstars, but just how to work in a team. And every other thing that we have achieved as humans, we've achieved as team. Now think about it for a moment. There's nothing that we have achieved as humans we've not achieved as teams. Look at the family, for example. If you don't find a way to take in your ego and work with your wife, it's going to scatter, right? The workplace, the same thing. So if you see somebody who comes in thinking that he's bigger than everybody, and therefore everybody has to live by his rules, everybody has to work with his way and manner of approach of things, then it's going to scatter everything. And that's one of the things I wrote in my book. I tell people, because this book writes, I wrote to appeal to everybody from every culture. There are fundamentals that you need to have to succeed in the Canadian workplace in terms of time management, customer experience, expectations from customers, and all that. You mentioned something about lateness to practice, for example. You dare not come late to work because every other person in Canada expects you to do the things that you committed you are going to. So if you work in an industry that's shift-based, for example, that works round the clock, people are waiting for you to resume so that they can go home. So you can't walk in half an hour after the time you're supposed to come in. And then somebody had already fixed a meeting, a very important meeting, said doctor's appointment, thinking, okay, it will take me 20 minutes to get to the doctor's appointment after work. So the doctor is waiting, So it's like a chain reaction. It's like a domino fall. And these are the things that fundamentally for me, I try to teach my kids, because guess what? They're also not being taught in school.
Yeah, they are being taught. So values it's so big. And, the big thing is working together with a team, working together with everybody. And I don't know, have you seen The Last Dance with Michael Jordan on Netflix?
Yep.
That was, I don't know what you thought. I thought that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
I think I watched it last year, and I mean, it was just blew me away. And I also have Tim Grover's book, Relentless. I don't know if you know who Tim Grover is.
No, I haven't read it, but I've heard about the title of the book, but I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, so Tim Grover's like, if I remember correctly, he's like kind of the guy who trained Michael Jordan and trained Kobe Bryant, right? And so he's like that guy. And he was on a podcast of someone I know, and he asked him, were there better people than like Michael Jordan and better people than Kobe Bryant? And he goes, oh man, there are people 100 times better than those guys. And he goes,
Wow.
really? He goes, there are guys so talented. They were naturally so talented. He goes, but they didn't want to do the work. They didn't want to be part of the team. They didn't want to wake up at 6 a.m. because they felt that they were better than the team, right? They wanted to go out and drink, and get drunk and then not show up to practice the next day. These guys were so talented. Like, if we could have got some of these people in the NBA, it would have been amazing. But they didn't want to buy into what the teams were about. They didn't want to buy into the values, the team environment. They felt it was me, which was that big ego thinking, right? And it was like just crazy listening to this guy talk about, like, there were better people than Michael Jordan. Really? Because that guy's one of the best basketball players, of all time. And I mean, you're just like, there's people better.
No, just think about it. I mean, just think about it that you and I we're talking about soccer, and we come from countries that love their soccer. Just think about Manchester United, for example, in England.
Ooh.
It is one of the biggest brands in the world.
They're having a rough year.
Yeah, they've had a rough year. But think about what Manchester United was under Sir Alex Ferguson, and think about how big David Beckham was at the time, right? And then Manchester United, Alex Ferguson had to sell him. It was when he decided to sell him, it was like the worst thing that he could have done to the English idol. But he did. And the reason why was, at some point, the guy felt that he was bigger than the team. The guy felt that he could just not align himself with what the coach wanted to do, So it's one of the challenges that you have when you're leading a team, that sometimes your big star might turn out to be the biggest disruptor, the biggest challenge you have in building a team. And look at what happened with Leicester, for example. They took the Premiership with no names, just because people put together, understood that they were working on this vision together. And there were no big names there, and they did what they had to do. At the end of the day, it's about understanding that the vision is more important than everybody else. And once people don't understand it, it's a problem.
Yeah, with a vision. So there's a guy I listen to all the time and listen to his podcast, and we actually get training from him as well because of the networking group we're in. And he says the biggest thing about vision is, so let's say you and I are working together and you're one of my employees, and I keep telling you, I'm going to open up this other division, Chidi, and you're going to head it all up. You're going to be my guy, blah, 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 blah. Right. And, we're going to do it. And then 6 months goes by and I give you the whole speech again. No, like, you don't go anywhere. I'm going to take care of you. You're going to be, and then a year goes by, and then 2 years go by, and then 3 years go by. And all I'm doing is I'm still talking about this vision. If you don't act on your vision and actually do stuff about it, that's how you lose a lot of the good employees, the good managers, the good team players, right? They'll leave. they're not going to stick around because they're tired of hearing the same story, because really your vision is just a dream, right?
I mean, it happened to me. It happened to me when because I have a background in banking from back home, and I worked in this organization where I was identified early as a high flyer. Okay, and then they said to me that you are going to head this branch of the bank, and I went and did the feasibility study of that branch, and it never happened. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, right? And at some point, every time, and I was getting offers, people were headhunting me, right? And then I was getting these offers, and when I get these offers, they were like, "Yo, you know, you've been designated for this place." And after a while, I said, "This is not helping me," and I took a walk. And then they wanted me to come back. And I said, no, I've made up my mind, because it's all about promises that were not kept. So if you don't act on the vision, and if you don't show everybody what is in it for them, and if you don't show them at every given moment how their own vision, their own personal vision tie into the broader vision of the team, you're going to lose talent. And one of the biggest challenge you have as a manager in customer service or whatever field you are is finding good talent. It's not as simple as people think it is. Right now, I'm a team lead, and the challenge of finding people who can work in my industry so that I know that A, the clients will be happy being taken care of, and B, no rules or regulations are being broken. It's not an easy thing. And so if you don't let people know where they're heading to, and show them completely how they're going to get there, and reward them as they get onto that journey with you, you're going to lose them.
Yeah, that's very true, right? And I mean, that's, and to kind of play another thing into the soccer or any professional sports team, that's also why you see a lot of these professional athletes leave these other teams, right? Because they got sold a vision, and like, we're going to get all these people in, and we're going to be in the Champions League final, and we're going to do all this, and then they're not even in the Europa League. And for people who don't know that, that means that you're not even in the top 8 teams probably in your division, which means you're not competing, but you're not one of the top teams. So, and when these people have that desire and they get sold this vision, they take off, they start leaving. The same thing is when you're to talk about how finding talent, it's, you got to make sure to hire people that are going to buy into the values. And then if they're not, then unfortunately you have to move them on. Otherwise they're going to be disruptive in your culture and cause problems, and especially don't want somebody saying, if you have people in there that are saying the vision's never going to happen, that's another thing where you got to find a way to pivot and say, the vision's changing, right? But you have to be transparent with your team on why. I mean, like on one of the podcasts, one of the episodes I had, we were talking about, I could totally understand if you were working for a company and they said, hey, listen, our plan was to do all this with you. That was our vision. COVID threw us a big curveball for the last 2 years. Because of that, it put us another year behind. If you wait with us for another year, we're going to get there. But when we did hire you, we would have had you in that position a year, but due to things out of our control, we couldn't do it. But if you're transparent with the employee instead of waiting for them to come to you, there's a good chance you're going to hold on to them. But at the end of the day, you still need to execute on your vision. You need to say that this is what's going to happen, and your company needs to be living by your values as well.
Again, let's go back to sports. If you want me to play for you in your team, and I ask you, so what does the next 5 years look for you as a team? And you said, I am bringing XYZ into this team to build a team that in 5 years will be able to challenge for the Super Bowl. Okay. And then I stay the first year, and I don't see you do anything around that. I'm the only person that have come in, because everybody wants to achieve. I think that one of Maslow says that sense of actualization that is on top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Okay. At some point when you have struggled and everything, you want to play at the biggest stage in life. You don't want to be an also run. Okay. So if you are telling somebody this is what I'm going to do in 5 years, in 3 years, 5 years, you best begin to show the person the way, how you want to get in there. Things can happen like COVID, etc., etc. Everybody understood that it's something that is just way out of the blues. But if you don't make people understand that, it's a problem on its own. The other part of that conversation is also noting that there are people that you think you bring in and they will lead you, they will push, and they will get you to that destination, that vision you want. And you just realize that there are previously unidentified recruitment errors. They're just recruitment errors. And once you identify the recruitment errors that are disruptive to your team, the best thing is to let them go. At the end of the day, that's what it's about. Yeah. There's no part of leadership that is easy, to be honest. That's why a few people can lead.
Yeah. So to kind of really tie customer experience into this, if you have a team or a team of employees and you told them this vision and you're not executing on that vision, right? Or you have these values, but you're not living by those values as a leader or making your team live by those values, talking about it all the time, it is going to affect your customer experience overall. All of the people who are coming into the store, like customers, they're going to feel that negative energy from your employees. The employees are probably not going to give it all, especially if you told them, hey, you're going to be the next manager and blah, 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 XYZ time. And then it doesn't happen. So all of that's going to trickle through. This is why you need to make sure that if you have a vision, you need to follow through with it. It's one thing to have like a 10-year vision, but if you have a vision where you're telling somebody they're going to be somewhere in a year or 2 years, and you don't follow through and you're not showing how you're building or how you're getting people in place to replace that person so that they can move up the chain of command, right? That is going to turn into them not being negative. And to kind of give you an idea, today I was on the phone. I had to call a company that handles Air Canada's. I was looking at changing my flight info. It took me an hour and 23 minutes to get through on the phone. Okay. So I get through on the phone on the guy, and the guy asked me some questions. He goes, I know it sounds repetitive that I'm asking you these questions again, phone number and name and all that, but I have to because now I'm recording and I'm authenticating everything. I said, okay. I said, well, seeing your recording, I'm actually not annoyed with you, and I know it's not your fault, but maybe you should talk to someone on why it takes an hour and 20 minutes to get on the phone with somebody, and I have no ability to change anything online. I have to call you. I have no choice to call you. And you know what the guy says to me? He goes, there's another 80 people on hold. Tell me about it. Everything they told me about what this job was going to be isn't even close to what it's supposed to be. But this is what it is. And he goes, I'm going to take care of you though, man. He goes, but yeah, I really don't care for this job. And I'm going, oh my God. Right. And the whole thing I'm thinking is I should be recording this and playing it on the show later. Right. And that was earlier today. That was this morning. And I'm going, man, this is terrible. But, but the thing is that's what happens is he's irritated. He's not happy. And now that's coming out to clients. So if he said that to me and I just literally poked the bear a little bit, you imagine someone calls in heated, right?
Yeah. And you see, that's why everything rises and falls on leadership. Everything. Okay. So if you are leading this team and you are not demonstrating the values like we're discussing, you're not showing, it trickles down. When you see a team that is exciting, you will know. When you see a team that is well led, you will know. When you see a team that's well run, you will know. There's a book called Team of Teams by Stanley McDavid or so. He used to be the commander of the United States Army in Iraq. He was, this guy that's credited with turning the Iraqi war around. After reading that book, where he literally had to make the BMO, that is the American military army, to become very little and very um, very smart to pursue ICAE, you begin to see how empowering people who take shop floor decisions, who are face to face with the clients, can make the world of difference, right? Just the fact that, hey, you own this transaction, you own this situation, you have the power to deal with it, you have the power to kill it, you have the power to sort the clients out. You know, it can be so empowering. You're not the first person I have spoken to or that I've had conversation with that complain about the waiting time with Air Canada. Sometimes I wonder whether the leadership actually calls in to find out what the customers experience, because it's so crazy. Maybe because, I don't know, they have monopoly or something like that, but you don't get the sense that the person you're talking to is empowered to solve your problem. And that's not customer service. I don't need to talk to hold on the line for 1 hour, 40 minutes for somebody to come and tell me, but I can't do anything. I have to go find somebody who can. I have to record it for somebody else to come and talk to you again for another 30 minutes and all that. Nobody's doing that right now. Nobody's doing that right now. And that's why these smaller companies are making, are moving faster, growing faster. Because when you pick the phone and call me, I should be able to solve your problem. I should be able to be in a position that I'm so well trained. I so appreciate where the company is going, what we're doing, etc., that I can solve your problem. At least make sure I give it to the next person who solved the problem.
Yeah, I agree. I'm huge on empowerment, and like I brought up on the podcast. Actually, we had I forget his name now, but anyways, he was on here and he was talking about leadership and management. And what I actually brought up to him was about kids, and kids fall down and they're going to hurt themselves and they're going to learn, right? If you hold your employees' hands for everything they do, they're never going to learn. And you need to empower them to make decisions, right? They're going to make wrong decisions. And but the thing is you need to use that as coachable moments or teachable point of views in order to teach them to continuously get better, right? But if you have it every single time, oh, I need to go ask the manager. Oh, I need to go ask the manager. It gets to that point where, well, why am I talking to you?
Exactly.
Right. Right. And that's the thing. Like, I hired a consultant a few months back, and I really don't talk to him anymore. I don't know if he even listens to this podcast, but I actually gave him some feedback a month ago, basically saying, listen, I'm not really utilizing your services anymore because every time I talk to you, you tell me you have to talk to somebody else. So I'm going, you're the professional. Why am I not just talking to that person? Why did I hire you? Right. And it wasn't like and I said to him really nicely. He thought it was mad when I wrote it all in like an email, but I said, listen, I'm not mad. I'm actually just like, you said you've been doing this for over 10 years. If you really are a professional, you should have these answers. They're very basic questions, but you keep going to somebody else for the answers. And by the time I get the answer, it's a week later. It's not like if it was like maybe an hour later, I wouldn't be worried. Hey, you know what? Things change all the time. With what we're talking about. So can you give me an hour? I'll make sure to get the correct answer for you, because things are always changing with technology and supply chain and whatever, right? And I would totally understand. I would actually respect that. But the fact that it takes a week to get an answer for somebody who is supposed to be a professional is kind of disappointing, unfortunately.
That's true. And most organizations run where that structure where some boss is somewhere and has to direct everything. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You need to empower the people on the shop floor. I'll give you an example. Part of this, one of the worst customer service experiences I've ever had. I had this hotel that I used to stay in before I relocated to Canada. Somewhere I used to stay, and so every time I travel to that city, I go to this one hotel, just one, for over 10, close to 15 years, one place. At some point, my wife was like, are you sure you're not a shareholder in this place? And I said, I am a creature of habit. I get into the flight, I've called the airport taxi that's picking me up, and they know where they're taking me to, right? So more or less like a creature of habit. But one day I was flying out of the country, and I had this incident where I forgot to print out my flight ticket, and I needed that was before you can show it on your phone and it's okay to fly. And I went to the lady on the reception. I said, please, could you print this out for me? And she said, no. Said no. I said, I gave her all kinds of options. I said, can I email it to you so you can print out for me? No. And I'm just sitting down there and watching and saying to me, oh my God, I have been a regular. I've been so steadfast with this hotel for 15 years, and I couldn't get this one request I made met. And she said that no, not because she just wants to punish me or something, but because, again, of that level of empowerment, she needs to talk to somebody who will authorize her to take a decision about that. And now I have a flight to catch. And that was it for me. So when you talk about customer experience and the importance of empowering people on the shop floor, people who are in the front line every day, you can't overemphasize it, because that's where businesses are won and lost.
Yeah, businesses are won and lost on customer experience. I mean, the amount of crazy cancel culture stuff that's going on now, where somebody does something extremely wrong and you're going, wow, that was really wrong. It's like that's got to be a PR nightmare for some of these, especially the airline industry. They've definitely had some interesting things over the last couple of years, right? I think some of them are glad COVID happened, because you probably forgot about a lot of stuff that happened prior, right? But yeah, it's very interesting to think about how it isn't. I mean, I had a guy today message me just saying, thanks for the thank you, because I thank all my clients. I typically send them a thank you. I do a personalized video thank you. So I send them, thank you, blah, 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 blah. If you have any questions, reach out to me, that kind of thing, right? And it's all personalized to them. And I had a client reach out to me. I think I sent him the video greeting like 3 months ago, but he said he just finally installed his dash camera today, and he wanted to say thanks because the product is good. And he was also really thankful for the video thank you. And I was like, oh, it's awesome. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's nice to get the thank you back as well, right? So, but I mean, do you have any final words? I mean, we were talking about professional athletes and talking about work culture, and do you have anything you want to kind of end with, or final remarks?
Yeah, so obviously I wrote a book, and the book talks about some of the things that we've spoken about here. And that's the imperative of having that vision, having that organizational corporate drive, and making sure that everybody buys into the vision that we have. For most organizations that have to employ immigrants, many of us come with these cultures that can be empowering, that can be rich for you if you just let people be. Show people that you believe in them. Show people that you believe in their abilities. Show people that what they're bringing to the table is very valuable. You see them go out to make you proud. Okay? But if we are struggling to get people to assimilate people rather than get people included in what we are doing, we are going to continue having a problem all over as a culture. So it's important to understand that immigrants remain hidden gems for customer service, and people come from all over the world with such amazing talent, such amazing depth of knowledge, such amazing breadth of wisdom, that you just let them be and just give them the opportunity, just give them that privilege, and they'll show you what they can do. And that's one of the things I talk about in my book, Coming to Canada, the Vastness of this.
Yeah, I feel that Canada was born on immigration, right? It was born on immigrants coming to this country. And I mean, I know myself, I know a lot of them that have come here. Like I have a few friends in Toronto area that have immigrated here, and man, they work so hard. They got so many side hustles and everything, right? They got a full-time job, and then they got stuff that, like this one friend of mine, he has products that he brings in from India, and he goes to all these tile stores and tile companies, and every time he's got a free minute, he's trying to sell all these guys on these products that are manufactured in India from like his family and friends and relatives over there, right? And I mean, he's actually starting to get some good traction on it last time I talked to him. So I mean, but on top of having a full-time job, on top of trying to do this, spend time with his family, always working, right? Always working. And there's some very talented people. I mean, I remember when I lived in Edmonton, and we had this guy come in, and he was cleaning our place. He was the janitor that would come in at night, and I'd be working late into night. And I remember talking to him going, hey, yeah, so it's like, is this kind of what you want to do? Like, do you enjoy doing this kind of thing, right? And he goes, no, I immigrated here like 3 months ago. I actually have what was it, like a master's or something like that in robotics. So he knows how to like build robots. He knows how to build all this, but he just wanted to get to Canada so bad that he came here, but they didn't recognize his education. So this guy is talented, and he's cleaning toilets and doing all that because that's what he needs to do. And I'm sure that guy's successful. I mean, that guy worked hard. He worked it. I mean, he probably found a way. I know he was telling me he was talking about taking a 1-year course where they would see some of his education recognized in Canada so that he could get a really good paying job. But I mean, a lot of these people, that's what they're going to do. They're going to go to school during the day. He's working like, graveyard shift, probably 6 till 2 or 3 in the morning, cleaning businesses, right? Cleaning offices, all that kind of stuff, right? And then probably goes home and sleeps for 4 or 5 hours, does his schooling that he needs to get done, all to just get by because that's where he wanted to be. He wanted to be in Canada, right? So,
Yeah. So, well, talking about the customer service experience from the Canadian point of view, from the immigrant point of view,
yeah.
because sometimes what people don't understand is that we who are newcomers to Canada, we actually paid to come here. We actually paid the government to come here, right? And so when we also talk about customer service, we rarely talk about it from that point of view. That I actually paid to be a permanent resident of Canada. And that payment that I've made was based on certain terms, and that government was going to help me in so many ways. Okay, government and its agencies are going to help me in so many ways. One of the biggest disappointments you get as an immigrant, a highly trained immigrant, foreign-based, foreign-trained professional, the education, the experiences you've had outside of Canada are the very first things that will be discounted when you come in here.
Yeah, I don't like that personally.
Right? The
I
very
agree,
first thing,
with you.
So,
Yeah.
so somebody comes in, like the guy you're talking about, they say, well, you don't have Canadian experience. You don't have Canadian education. So you have this dilemma where you need Canadian education, where you need Canadian experience to get Canadian job. And obviously you need Canadian job to get Canadian experience. So how do you do it as an immigrant? And this is somebody who's left home on the dream, on the vision sold by the government that we are welcoming, we will take you, you are coming to add value to us. And then you come in here, you have to start all over again. And people will tell you, just get a foot in the door, right? Get a foot in the door. Oh boy, this is a senior manager where he's coming from. You ask him to get a foot in the door, which means simply to start all over again. It is counting 20, 25 years of his experience. Tell him to start all over again. To do something that he did last time, like 25, 30 years back, just because he moved to Canada. The country is not worse off for it because we have this pile of experience, this pile of wisdom, this very talented human beings that we have pushed to the margins, to the brinks, okay, to the margins of society. And so we can't use them. They cannot help the Go think about one example I usually give. Think about the waiting time in the Canadian hospitals when you go for triage. Okay, because we're also talking about customer experience. I spent 8 hours at the University of Alberta, the Stollery Hospital, when my son was ill. 8 hours before my son was finally able to see a doctor. 8 hours. And yet we have in Canada medical doctors who are driving taxi, medical doctors who are working in the margins of the society, who are no longer, whose professional experience have been discounted, whose professional life have been so distorted and everything that they don't even want to compete again. They don't even bother again. And yet we don't have enough doctors to make me get into the triage, and in 1 hour I should be able to see a doctor.
Yeah, because they don't want to go do another 5 years in school and university and another, let's call it $250,000 or whatever it is in debt, right?
Exactly.
To what to now be considered a doctor, because you still need to have income over those 5 years. You still need to work. You still need to study. And I mean, you're talking about being a doctor, for instance, right? It's not an easy course. But I mean, I know there was someone who I did talk to who immigrated from another country that was a dentist. And they told him he had to take a course because there were certain procedures that were done differently than here. But he said that he didn't know if he was even going to bother taking the course because it was going to involve more money. It was going to involve him having to do the education, and he didn't know how he was going to provide an income for himself, right? Yeah. And there's different rules and everything, but I agree with you. It would be nice because there's so many people that are talented. Never mind, there's lots of people that have a master's in this and a doctorate in that and whatever, all those other little things, diploma in this, right? But then they end up like working at McDonald's, right? Because that are like from Canada, like, you know what I mean? And they just don't utilize their education for getting into that field for some reason, right? And I don't know why that is, but I mean, I guess that's a whole different conversation.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely interesting. I like I said to you earlier, I can totally see you really having some good conversations with my teacher from college. I think you guys, I'm definitely gonna connect you two for sure.
I really appreciate that. Yeah, I would like to connect with you.
But I really appreciate you coming on the show. This was awesome. Just mainly we focus on vision values and, talking about tying it all into customer experience. It was a great time. I appreciate you coming on here, and
for having me.
I appreciate it, man. This is awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Focus on Customer Experience podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. For more information or to connect with Ben, check out Benjamin Del Grosso on LinkedIn, at Safe Drive Solutions on Instagram, or www.safedrivesolutions.ca online. We'll see you next time.